Welcome to Dirty South TV. It's the Acoustic Lunch Hour, and we're starting Season 4 with a bang today. We've got some great music for you. I want to thank Liz Lee Media for sponsoring us, and also Disco Girl and Funky Fresh for sponsoring the new TV show here at Dirty South TV. And I also want to thank you for dialing us up and for watching the music. You're in for a real treat today. So without any further ado, please welcome warmly from Nashville, Tennessee, Shantell Ogden.
Well, hey y'all, I'm Shantell, and I brought with me a good friend and co-writer of mine, Bill DeLuigi, and we're going to play some songs, and we're excited to be with you today on Dirty South TV. That song is actually going to be on my new record coming out on April 28th called Ghosts in the Field. That tune was called Just a Little. And I think it's about maybe a moment of crush that we've probably all had, and just wanted to write something that was kind of fun and up-tempo. This next song we're going to do is actually was a song that Bill and I wrote in Cape Cod. Was it last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 August ago.
So I got invited to go up to Cape Cod, and it's beautiful there in the summer, and we were kind of out around Hyannisport, and we just went out by the ocean and kind of soaked up that beautiful scenery. And we were talking to Bill and I were talking about how you know, when you travel around and you see so many things and meet so many people like we're blessed to doing what we do, sometimes it's more about the people you're with than the places that you've been. And so we came up with this idea, and we're going to play this song. This is actually from my last record called Better at Goodbye, and this is a tune called Where You're Not. 1, 2, 3. So this next song, I read this. I think for songwriters, we kind of soak in the world around us. And would you agree with that, Bill?
I agree, especially today because it's raining like crazy.
We're soaking up lots today here down in Atlanta, but I think as songwriters, we kind of soak in things in the world. And one of the things that I do is I read a lot, and I read this really interesting kind of like little short story or quote about divorce, and the writer said something like, divorce was 1,000 little goodbyes. Like you kind of get through the first holidays, but then there's like the next birthdays and that kind of stuff. And so just thinking about that and kind of thinking about how in relationships I've had, and probably we've all had, you kind of heal a little bit at a time. And just came up with this idea called Better at Goodbye, and it's kind of about that process of healing a little bit at a time.
Fifth key you're in. Just checking. No, you're right.
No, I was right. You're right. Thank you. The stars were out when you drove me home. They showed up like a chaperone. They could see we were way too close from a million miles away. Now I see it looking back. We were spinning way too fast, and you can't stay in love like that. Something's bound to break. And there's 1,000 little movies, and I'm replaying every scene. I know how it ends, but it still gets to me. I'm doing my best to let go. It hurts, but I'm still trying. I'm getting better, better at goodbye. I believe that old porch swing. Learned a lot about you and me from the late night talks about everything to the way we kissed. And on my birthday, you showed up with a dozen roses in your old truck. I don't think about it quite as much. Sometimes I can't resist. There's 1,000 little movies, and I'm replaying every scene. I know how it ends, but it still gets to me. I'm doing my best to let go. It hurts, but I'm still trying. I'm getting better, better at goodbye. I stopped blaming myself and asking why. Some days I don't really cry. I'm doing my best to let go. It hurts, but I'm still trying. I'm getting better, better at goodbye. Yeah, I'm getting better, better at goodbye.
I like those sad songs.
Oh, me too. Sad songs make me happy.
Sad songs make me happy.
Throat slitting song.
You mighty fine pick in there, Bill.
Oh, thank you.
Mighty fine.
I just
mighty
picked this instrument up a couple weeks ago. I'm getting better. I'm learning new chords every day.
So a few years back, I took a writer's retreat out to Colorado, and I was with my friend Donna DeSopo, who's another songwriter friend of mine in Nashville, and we were talking kind of just about how we feel like, sort of in general, we don't meet a lot of manly men, like the kind of men that we were raised by. And of course, my dad's a rancher, and I grew up around kind of real life cowboys. And anyway, we were kind of talking about sort of those things, and kind of came up with this next song we're going to play for you.
Come along.
Yeah.
Come along.
Some days he's riding a slow horse, though. I will say that. What's up next, Bill?
Who
Bill
comes
D?
first?
You want to tell the story about this one since we wrote it together?
Well, yeah, we were out we were on the road on the way to Utah and other places, and I think we were talking about people we knew that just sort of, fell into the bottle or fell into some kind of addiction problem, and how that affects a relationship and what that's all about, and we fool the listener just a little bit in this song. So y'all just sit back and
pretend
just
you didn't hear the intro
Yeah.
about what this was about.
Because, ever since Puff the Magic Dragon, we're allowed to fool you in a song. It's okay. It's going to be okay. And just sit back and you'll get the picture.
Reaching for your coat again, going to see your so-called friend. Baby begging you to stay would only be a good waste of words.
sure feels a lot like last call.
Me or the whiskey, God knows I hope you pick me, 'cause I can't stay and watch you go from bad to worse. I know who comes first. I know who comes first.
Yes, deep song.
Yeah, yeah.
Woo! Well, let's lighten the mood a little bit. So, just to tell you a little bit about myself, again, my name's Shantell Ogden, and I grew up in a really small town with one stoplight out in rural Utah, in central Utah, a place called Richfield. If anyone's ever heard of it,
I have. I've been to Richfield. I've seen
Bill-
the dairy and
Bill
everything.
has the distinct pleasure of saying that he's been to Richfield. No, it's a great town and super nice folks, and just really it was a pleasure to grow up there. And I grew up on a family farm, and that was a big part of my roots as a young adult and as a kid. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But one of the things we always used to do on Friday and Saturday nights was drag Maine. And are you familiar?
I know what that means. Yeah, I've dragged a few mains myself.
Drag a few mains. So basically, for those of you who might not be familiar, you just drive up and down Main Street, and there are designated turnaround spots. And basically, when you're in a town with one stoplight, there's just not a whole lot going on. So that's kind of what you did with your friends is drag Maine. And this song is kind of about an experience that really started with Dragon Maine. And I'm gonna let the song tell you the rest of the story. Every Friday night at 9 o'clock, the headlights would fill up that old parking lot. The town shut down. We talk about getting out of there. Some of those nights a girl can't forget. The night he drove up, I lost my breath. I still know story, Bill.
Yeah.
So, Bill, since you drove down with me from Nashville, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do as a writer there?
I am a staff writer at a company on Music Row called Rhyme Partners, and split my time. I'm in Nashville an awful lot writing, and then I also play for Shantell and a couple other artists out on the road, so I'm out on the road about 25% of the year, maybe 33% of the year, and it's the place to be. It's the place I should be.
Well, Nashville is, there's a lot of great things about living in Nashville, but I think one of my very favorite things about living in Nashville, and when I moved there 10 years ago, I had just finished my degree at Berklee College of Music, and that was a great experience, and I, kind of was looking at the towns, and it's like, either New York, LA, or Nashville. And I'm probably going to sound like a commercial for the city of Nashville. So if anybody out there wants to hire me to promote Nashville, let me know. But anyway, I of course, it's a really livable city, but the real reason I wanted to move to Nashville is because the focus is on the songwriting. And I've always been, Bill and I were talking on the way down just about songs that we loved and songs that have stuck with us over the years. And the thing that's really cool is that you can go to venues all over town and just hear these people, these actual songwriters who wrote big songs for tons of different artists, and they're just the nicest, kind of most unassuming people in the world. And the next song I'm going to play was actually also on my last record, and just to tell you real quick about a couple of the songwriters that I wrote it with. So I met through some connections in town. I met Jan Buckingham, and of course, for those of you who aren't familiar with her, she had a #1 with Pam Tillis, Cleopatra, Queen of Denial, and she also wrote a song for Whitney Houston back in the day, and she's had countless other cuts by artists over the years and had stuff in film and TV. And I remember the first time I wrote with her, I was pretty nervous, and we got a good song, and have written some songs that I'm really proud of since then. And through Jan, I actually connected at a writer's night with Wood Newton, who's also another hit songwriter in Nashville. And Wood and Jan were actually early friends in Nashville and kind of wrote together. And so we decided, well, let's all three of us get together and write. So we wrote 2 songs from our last record, which was released in 2010, called... No, actually, it was released in 2013, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sounds more
Yeah,
right.
2013.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's called Better at Goodbye, and 2 of the songs I wrote with Jan and Wood, and we're gonna do one of those songs for you now. And I think, for me, what I've realized about myself is sometimes. I don't know, maybe this is a songwriter thing, but sometimes we don't want to see reality as much as other people want to see reality.
You write your own reality. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, we kind of do write our own reality, and I was thinking about that and kind of had this idea for song, and together with 2, hit songwriters. I mean, how can you, what a better, there's no better situation to walk in as an artist to write with people that are that good. And so we're going to do this song for you now, and it's called A Lie I Tell Myself. Then I'm supposed to give it up. shout out to my friends Wood Newton and Jan Buckingham for writing that song with me, and it was on my last record and still definitely one of my favorites. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been in the studio starting last fall and kind of finishing up this spring working on a new record, and I'm really excited that it's going to be coming out. It's called Ghosts in the Field, and it's going to be coming out on April 28th. And you know, I think as a writer, you always try to kind of stretch yourself and dig a little deeper and try to make this project better than the last. And I went exactly back to the same people that I wrote and recorded my last record with for the most part. And I feel like if you're liking where you're heading and people seem to enjoy the music, then it's probably good to keep going on that same path. And so I went to record this new record the same place I did my last. It's John Willis's studio in Nashville called Willis Sounds.
John's a man. He's fantastic.
He is, and I mean he's brilliant, and he produces me, but he also played everything on this record except drums. I mean, he's a brilliant musician and just a super nice guy. He and his wife both are wonderful people. And then I had Judy Rodman, who is a really world-renowned vocal coach and performer in her own right. And she produced the vocals on this next project, and she really helps me, you know, try to get the very best performance I can get out of my voice. And so anyway, this next song I'm gonna let Bill intro while I hydrate.
Oh, hydrate away, please. We were again, we were on the road. I guess we wrote 3 of the songs that are on this record on the road this summer while we went out to Utah, and it's something Shantell's father said, that when they're at the family farm, sometimes he goes out there and he says there's a lot of ghosts in that field, like past relatives and ancestors that stretch back. So we just spent a day. We probably spent a good part of an hour or 2 walking around the farm, walking around the fields, the neighboring fields and everything, just soaking everything in, soaking it up, hung out for a day, and then wrote the song the next day. And I think it's probably one of my favorites on the record anyway. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite, but I think it's a great song.
Well, and I always like to say that, you know, I think for anybody, wherever your roots are, just it's nice to kind of have a touchstone. And this song is very important to me, and we actually played it for the first time at a family reunion of mine last summer. And I just remember kind of like looking out and seeing, you know, relatives of mine who've worked on the farm, and my dad and cousins of his, and you know, it just it was a really special moment, and I'm glad I got to share that with my family. And I just want to say that you know, no matter where you are, and hopefully you have that touchstone that you can go back to. And I think we all have roots, and that's an important part of knowing who you are. And I think knowing who you are is probably one of the most important things you can figure out in your life. So anyway, with that intro, we're gonna play this tune called Ghosts in the Field. Rushing through the corn, I'm tracing my old footsteps
funny thing, if y'all have never been to Nashville, we're talking about writers' nights. So you have all these hit songwriters that are playing their songs, and some of them are great, some of them can hardly sing a lick. So you have tourists come in from out of town, and they go hear all these big songs, and they're like, we just heard the worst karaoke kind of thing. These old guys with guitars were singing all these hit songs, and they were terrible. They have no idea that they wrote the songs. I just love it. You know?
Yeah, that's definitely Nashville for you, for sure. You know, speaking of kind of staying connected and traveling around, I do want to say that one of the greatest things for me as an artist is to get to connect with people. And I'm very easy to find on social media. My website, shantellogden.com, and from there you can find me on Twitter, Facebook. I'm on Reverb Nation. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. Y'all, I'm not hard to find. So please, I would love it if you would just send me a note or stay connected. And I'd love to get to know y'all. And I really always say that you know, that dreams are made possible by people like you, and I'm just extremely grateful to, and I know Bill is too. We talk about it all the time, how fortunate we feel to be able to pursue our dreams and to make music to share with people. So.
And my MySpace is a little rusty, so you come to my MySpace. It needs a little love, okay?
Do they even have
I don't
MySpace
know.
anymore?
I guess it's still out there somewhere in space.
Okay, okay. Good to know. So we're going to do one last song for you. This song is actually a song I wrote with Brian Kolb and Joe Doyle, who are fantastic songwriters in Nashville. And again, this is a song that's going to be on my new record coming out on April 28th called Ghosts in the Field.
So much. The album is called Ghosts in the Field. It's coming out April 28th. Shantell Ogden. See if I can get this in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Rusty.
It was really wonderful. Enjoyed every song.
Thank you.
Not getting in your way here. Hello there.
Hi.
Trying to get out of here all the way.
No, thank you so much for the music. It was really great, and I
Thank you.
really like how every song was different as far as a feeling and sort of a timbre. And it was all different. Like a song called "Just a Little" is so different from "Who Comes First." You know, you hardly believe it's from the same writer. You know what I mean? So thank you for all those songs. And,
Thank you.
I wish you every success with this new CD.
Thank you.
And are you going to have a party for it?
I am. I'm going to have a listening event in Nashville, and it's on my Facebook page. If anybody wants to come, y'all are welcome. Consider yourselves officially invited.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
very
you.
exciting. And I was going to say, Bill, you did remarkably too as far as your playing.
Thank you.
Really, whether you were backing her up or playing solos, it just really sounded great. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, tell me something. How does a Utah farm girl get to Nashville? What was the journey?
By way of Portland, Oregon, Atlanta, Georgia, Boston, Massachusetts.
That's a long drive. You didn't have GPS apparently.
No. I think for me it was an evolution as an artist and as a writer. And I think each of those places gave me something different to kind of put into my songs. And, the thing is about songwriting, time is a writer's friend. And I feel like the more you kind of get to know yourself and kind of develop a view of the world that hopefully you can put into songs, hopefully the better the songs are and the more relatable they are, because I think the best songs aren't about me, they're about us, all of us.
Yeah, and I think that's when you really have a gem, is when there's something that is personal to you, but everybody in the audience, or at least most of the people, can say, oh, I've been through that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like if I had to pick one moment as a performer that absolutely is creme de la creme for me, it would be looking out into the audience and seeing, a tear roll down somebody's face, or seeing them giggle a little bit about a moment that they've had that's been similar. And to me, that's really, that's like the biggest payoff I could ever have as an artist, is to know that something I've shared is common and that it's touched somebody. I mean, that's really what, to me, songwriting's about. And I got into songwriting and performing because I was touched by songs, and I have learned a lot about things through songs that people have written.
Well, speaking of songwriting, you when you were growing up, what kind of cows do you have?
So when I was growing up, I grew up on a dairy farm, and we had Holsteins.
Holsteins, that's
what
we
had.
had.
Milk cows.
Yeah.
Where did you had Holsteins
In
too?
Illinois, yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
We don't anymore, but we did for a long time.
Those are high
love
maintenance cows.
Yes.
You're gonna get a cow. Holsteins are high maintenance.
Did you know even back then? I mean, were you starting to think of songs, or was that something that came later?
I think for me, I was always a writer. I was always writing short stories and poetry and that kind of stuff. And I think what I didn't realize back then that I realized later is that I was kind of soaking up the world around me, and that I saw things in a way that was maybe a little different. And I would kind of freeze frame these emotional experiences, or these pictures in my mind as I was growing up. I kind of collected all that. And, as I got older and met other songwriters, and kind of was like, well, do you ever? And they're like, oh, yeah, I do that too. And I've kind of realized that it's kind of a writer thing to kind of soak up the world around you. And I definitely was that person for sure. And I always I played piano growing up, and then I picked up guitar a little later on, and just always lived on music. I always had it going on in our home, and my mom played piano, and I used to sing, and so it was always a big part of my life. But you know, in terms of like songwriting and pursuing it as a career, it came later for me. It's kind of a gradual realization that was one of the things that I feel like it's kind of a calling for me in my life. I feel like it's something that I'm supposed to do.
Compelled.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of soaking up where you are, and when you were out west or then in Atlanta for a while, what kinds of things? How did you change? Like using Atlanta as an example. What changed in you? Was it
as far as the writing
the
goes?
Style, or just the experiences that you had, or?
Yeah, so my early writing was very sort of poetic and a lot of analogies. It was kind of more, I don't want to say artistic, because I think there's art in all songs and all kinds of songwriting, but it was definitely more poetic and kind of more obscure, maybe for the listener to kind of figure out what they wanted to take from it. And then when I went, so my early records, that if you can't find them for sale anymore, but anyway, those early records were like that, and it was me kind of figuring out what I wanted to say, and everybody has early work,
right?
Everybody has early work, and so then I went to school at Berklee, and in those songwriting classes, it was all about like ripping songs apart, looking at the structure, looking at like what makes this good, what makes this lyric good, what makes this chord work, what makes this song compelling to somebody. And for 2 years to kind of take this artistic self into that environment and break it all down. And it was good because it gave me, I think, more appreciation for the craft of songwriting and for the skill that it is. And I told Pat Pattison, who was one of my main songwriting professors, both he and John Aldrich at Berklee. I tell them all the time that they helped me sharpen my crayons, and that's what I feel like, that they helped me pay attention to songs and learn some of those tools. So then when I moved to Nashville 10 years ago, I was it took me a while to kind of find my footing, because it's such a inspiring and kind of overwhelming place to be around so many great songs and songwriters. But then, it kind of, I just, over time kind of started to find what I feel like is kind of my authentic artistic voice that was there all along, but it just evolves.
Yeah.
It just evolves.
Well, there are certain pockets and places that tend to breed songwriters. That you've got New York, you're talking about LA, Austin has become one.
For sure, absolutely.
And Nashville, was your choice to go to Nashville? What made you make that final move?
Well, I think, for me, I'd been to New York and LA, and I still go to those places to write. And I have friends that live there, and there's fantastic talent in all those places. So from a talent perspective, I think you just go where you want to go.
Right.
I think what drew me to Nashville is, having grown up in a small town, it kind of has that feel. And also, I think that for me, I feel like it's kind of the songwriting capital of the world, in terms of like there's so much focus on the song, and not just good songs, but great songs. And for me, that I wanted to be around great songs and fantastic songwriters, in a place that I can have a dog and buy a house and all that stuff that you can do in Nashville. So I love living there. I
think you're right, though. There's a lot of towns that have a lot of good live music. And,
sure.
I mentioned Austin would be the live music capital.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as far as songwriters, in a small geographical area, they're probably more than anywhere else, really. And if you add Franklin and Murfreesboro.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
There's just a ton of writers there.
Yeah.
You ever bumped into Paul Overstreet?
I have been a fan of his music, and I have written with some of his co-writers. Paul wrote with Tom Schuyler, and I've written some with him,
cool.
But I've never run into him personally around town. But it's funny, how you meet people too, because I know I've been at Whole Foods, and you see Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman walking through,
right?
And Nashville's really cool because those people respect the fact that they're people, and you don't see people running up to them getting pictures, and it's it's just kind of nice, like they're not in that artist mode, and people kind of get that and are respectful of that in Nashville, and so anyway, it's just fun to kind of have those experiences too.
Excellent. Now this Ghosts in the Field is coming out April 28th. What do you have any dreams or expectations for this? You want to tour, or how do you want to market this?
That's the $1 million question. So for me, I have a team of people that I work with as an artist. I have a publicist that I work with named Sherry Lacey from Good Stuff PR, and she's definitely helping me make connections with this and get this album to people.
Right.
And hopefully will like it. And then I have a fantastic radio promotions team that I work with in the UK and Ireland.
Oh, wow.
Called KEMC Global. And Brendan and Pete at KEMC will be helping me release singles in the UK and Ireland, and then we'll build a tour either late this year or early in 2016. And then, I know that I'll be on tour again this summer with going out west to see friends and family and playing out along the way, and I'm always open to other opportunities that come, like coming down here to speak to y'all. I've really enjoyed my time, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thanks
been wonderful.
Yeah,
absolutely. Behind the scenes is the man making it all happen. So this has just been delightful. So thank you.
You're going to Ireland. Are you at all Irish, or?
So I actually have Scottish ancestors, and I went over there a couple years ago and played a couple shows in Ireland and Scotland, and kind of fun looking up some of the clan heritage, and apparently my clan heritage is horse thieves and school teachers. And I thought that was very interesting.
They do well together.
I thought that was very interesting because, my mom taught school for 35 years, and my dad, he didn't steal the horses, but of course, being on a farm, we had horses and cows and the whole 9 yards. So. Well,
I hope that's fun for you. But, one of your neighbors, Nancy Griffith, went over to Ireland, ended up with the #1 song.
I think what's cool about the market over there is, there's lots of good things about so my sound is in the U.S. kind of considered Americana music, and I did radio with my last record, and I'll do radio again with this record in the U.S. But over there, what they kind of consider country music is kind of inclusive of Americana and is inclusive of folk, and so they have a lot of openness to songs and songwriters, and I think it's fantastic that people as talented as her are going over and touring, and I hope to do the same thing for sure.
Well, I wish you every success. I think it's going to be just a wonderful year ahead for you. And these songs are an indication of what you can do. And I think you've got quite a future ahead. And just wish you all the best.
Well, thank you. And I just want to again kind of recognize my production team, John Willis for producing the record, recording with me, and Judy Rodman for producing the vocals. Brian Kolb, who's actually a Grammy-nominated mixing engineer, mixed the record, and it was mastered at Mayfield Mastering in Nashville. So I always say that no one gets anywhere alone in this business, and the people you have with you, kind of making the journey, and the people out there who are supporting programs like this, it's so essential to sharing music. And I just again want to thank the sponsors of the show and G and yourself for having us down here. It's just been wonderful. And
well, thanks. And that guy on guitar.
And that guy on guitar. He's not too bad either, Mr. Bill DeLuigi.
Wait till you get the bill. Well, it looks like we got to sign off, and I could talk to you all day long, but I
Yes.
want to thank you, and thanks for making the drive down here from
Absolutely.
Nashville to Atlanta, and
Absolutely.
just thanks for all the music for every single song. And
Thank
I think
you.
you've got some great stuff in
Thank
this
you.
album.
I really appreciate it. Again, I'd love to hear from y'all. So my website is shantellogden.com, and that's SHANTELLOGDEN.com.
And look for songs like God Counts Every Tear, Who Comes First, and my personal favorite is Just a Little.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know.
But thanks again, and thanks for tuning in. This is Dirty South TV, and this is the Acoustic Lunch Hour. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.